Hey, I'm Ryan. Before I dive into my story, there's something you should know. I stumbled upon something at CERN, something so horrifying and shocking that I've kept it to myself for years. It's not for the faint of heart. So if you get disturbed easily, maybe it's time to tune out and go watch SpongeBob or something. You've been warned. As I said, I work over at CERN. You know, that big science place where they do all sorts of crazy experiments. I'm not a scientist or anything cool like that. I'm part of the housekeeping crew, yep. Even places filled with top-secret stuff need someone to clean up, and that's me. I got this gig a few years ago. I had to go through all sorts of security checks before they let me in. I work the night shift, so it's usually just me and the quiet cleaning up offices and bathrooms and whatever else needs tidying up. Most nights, I'm assigned to clean the professor's offices. It's all very hush-hush and high security, but someone's got to do it, right? Dr. Smith is one of the lead professors here. He's a physicist, and let me tell you, his office is a mess. Books everywhere, papers all over the place. It's like a tornado went through there. My job's pretty straightforward. I vacuum, take out the trash, and clean up any obvious messes. I'm not supposed to touch any of his work stuff, though. Usually I finish up my duties with a few hours to spare, so I just read or walk around, looking for something to do. So here's where things get interesting. One night, I was pretty bored, and I still had half my shift left. I found myself cleaning Dr. Smith's office. I wasn't supposed to mess with his stuff, but man, it was tempting. Those piles of books and papers looked like they were hiding all sorts of secrets. However, boredom has a way of making you do things you wouldn't normally do, and that's how I found myself snooping around. I know, it's wrong, but looking back, I'm glad I did. Otherwise, none of what happened would have made any sense to me. So, Dr. Smith had this journal right in the middle of his desk. I've been curious about what's going on at CERN for a while, so one night, curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to check it out. What I read was, well, it was mind-blowing. I flipped to the last page and started to read. Today, we finally achieved it. After 5 years of meticulous work, my interdimensional portal technology was ready for its initial run. We initiated it for the first time today. For safety, we had a hermetically sealed isolation room for the equipment, with a panic button to activate a 3,000-degree blast furnace, effectively reducing the room and my experiment to slag. So, safety protocols were in place. We activated the portal today. As previously detailed, the portal is minuscule, about 2 mm, and we send in a tiny camera attached to a cable to relay back pertinent information. What we observed on the other side will revolutionize science. It was another Earth in an alternate dimension. My theory of the multiverse and infinite possibilities has been substantiated. I foresee a Nobel Prize in our future. The alternate Earth we observed was intriguing. We only had a glimpse of a small area, but it seems human society hasn't developed here. We observed large reptilian predators, resembling colossal Komodo dragons or sizable crocodiles. We watched one of these creatures, presumably hunting, lying in wait by a swamp. Each exploration is limited to 5 minutes, and we didn't witness the creature's prey, but it was utterly fascinating. I am eager to discover what revelations tomorrow holds. Okay, so, wow, what the heck? I'd heard all sorts of conspiracy theories about this place, but this was something else. It seemed super dangerous to me, opening portals to unknown worlds. But hey, what did I know? I'm just a glorified, overpaid janitor. Even though I felt kind of bad about violating Dr. Smith's privacy, I was hooked. Every night, I started reading his daily journal updates. Over the next week, they kept exploring the multiverse every day. It seemed like each time they opened the portal, they'd find a new dimension. Totally different from the last one. They hadn't figured out how to go back to the same place. It all seemed kind of random, and the scientists were scratching their heads. They found all sorts of different worlds. Most were empty, no life at all. In one world, there was way more CO2, and the plants were insane. Trees were like 100 meters tall, and there were flowers as big as a house. The only living things there were giant insects. In another world, it looked like the whole place was having a volcanic meltdown. It was dark all the time, with skies full of smoke and no sign of life anywhere. I was addicted. I couldn't wait to see what they'd find next. Every night, I'd rush through my cleaning just to get into Dr. Smith's office and read the next journal entry. Then one day, I read something that left me stunned. Today is a historic day. We've made the first interdimensional contact. It's a dream come true for all of us here at CERN. When we opened the portal today, something or someone made contact with us. The entity communicated with us telepathically and, weirdly, in English. He introduced himself as Tarro. All the scientists present could hear his thoughts, and we all heard the same things, proving this contact was real. Tarro explained how to open the portal directly to his world. It's a world of extreme radiation. The sun's turned into a red giant, so most people live underground to avoid the radiation. They asked us to open the portal and let them through, but of course we couldn't do that. Tomorrow, we'll try to open the portal back to Tarro's land. I think I underestimated the situation when I saw Nobel Prizes in the future. We were going to be gods of science. This was insane. I was completely blown away. I sat there for a while, just thinking about it. And I gotta admit, it scared me. The next day, I couldn't get to Dr. Smith's office fast enough, my heart pounding in my chest. I was buzzing with anticipation. My hands were shaking as I picked up the journal. I took a deep breath and started to read. Today we did, as Tarro instructed, and it worked. We were able to open the portal directly to his world. But this time, another entity, Astral, communicated with us. He warned us about Tarro and said he wasn't friendly. He claimed that Tarro was the reason their world had been destroyed. He wasn't native to their dimension, but was a predator, preying upon naive travelers of the multiverse. He feeds off negative emotions and pain. If you let him into your world, he will surely destroy it to the core, and you will be defenseless, Astral warned. I sat there in stunned silence. But then I noticed a second entry, which was odd. It read, Tarro somehow contacted me directly tonight, even though the portal was closed. He communicated with me telepathically. He claimed that Astral was lying, trying to keep us in the dark, away from the supreme knowledge and powers he could share. He outlined a ritual I must perform, a sacrifice to the powers of the multiverse, which would allow him to cross over. He promised me immense rewards if I let him through, saying I would be like a god on earth, the most powerful man who ever lived. I must admit, I am highly intrigued. Tarro says time is of the essence. I will attempt the ritual tomorrow night in the courtyard. This was huge. If we let Tarro run wild on our planet, it could be catastrophic. The ritual was set for the next night. You might have seen those videos online about the mock sacrifice at CERN. Well, let me tell you, there was nothing mock about it. And if you're wondering who shot that footage, it was me. I was hiding in a dark office that overlooked the courtyard by the Shiva statue, something that had always seemed oddly out of place at CERN. Around midnight, I noticed about 10 figures in black robes emerge into the courtyard. They set up torches around the statue and started chanting, although I couldn't make out what they were saying. Then a woman dressed in white entered the scene. She lay down in front of the statue, and one of the men dressed in black, I assume it was Dr. Smith, went up to the woman lying down. He knelt and hovered over her, chanting some more. Then suddenly he plunged a knife directly into her heart. I freaked out and stopped filming at this point. I was in shock. My heart was pounding, and I couldn't believe what I had just witnessed. It was surreal, like something out of a horror movie. After collecting myself, I made my way out to the courtyard to investigate. All the scientists or occultists or whatever had this glazed look in their eyes, like they were hypnotized or something. They had taken off their robes and were wandering around in a daze. Dr. Smith, who led the sacrifice, was on the ground, hands holding his temples and screaming. I ran into the experiment room, and through the cameras, I could see the portal. It was glowing and expanding, way beyond the 2mm size. As it got bigger, an arm reached through, and then I saw the face. It was hairless, with yellow and green skin, humanoid teeth, but with short, insect-like tentacles emerging from its head. But its eyes, oh, those eyes, they were the most horrible yellow, with a swirling pattern to them, like something you'd see from a hypnotist, but much more intense. And they seemed to swirl into infinity. It smiled at me with the most unsettling grin I had ever seen. It started dragging itself through. I didn't think, I just acted. I hit the incinerate button. But just as I did, Tarro looked at me and smiled. Something emerged from his head, like a wisp of clear smoke, and went through the walls and out into the lab. Then the blast furnace activated, and billions of dollars of equipment was turned into a scrap heap. The portal was gone, and the room was left a smoldering ruin. Then, I went out to the courtyard where the scientists were coming too, all except for Dr. Smith. He was just standing there, staring up at the moon, completely expressionless. "Dr. Smith, are you okay?" I asked. He turned and looked at me, and that's when I saw the eyes. Those same eyes as Tarro. The swirling yellow madness in them shook me to the core. Then he smiled, that same horrible smile I had seen from Tarro a few moments ago. Fear rose in me. To be honest, I almost wet my pants. It was a look of pure evil. "It was not very nice of you to close that portal, dear Ryan. How disappointing." He said it weakly, as if it were a struggle to speak. This was quite odd, as Dr. Smith definitely didn't know my name. I was confused. Had Tarro taken over Dr. Smith somehow? He loomed over me, seeming to feed off my fear. I cowered and averted my face. The more scared I got, the more he seemed to perk up. His energy coming back in a surge, he promptly headed back towards his office. I went straight home and got in bed, my mind racing over the night's events, when suddenly a booming voice resonated in my head. It introduced itself as Tarro, Lord of the Multiverse, Destroyer of Worlds. He told me he was going to make his new home here in this world, and I would be wise to stay out of his way. The voice was so intense and real that it haunts me to this day. He telepathically promised to turn me and this entire world inside out if I did not respect his wishes. This was a Friday. Luckily, I had the weekend to recover. I didn't want to, but I reluctantly went back to work on Monday night for my usual shift. I had to see what happened to the lab and Dr. Smith. Was Tarro still in control of his body? Terrified out of my mind, I didn't bother completing my usual work. I went straight to Dr. Smith's office. I opened the journal and flipped straight to the last page. The last entry read as follows. "Hello, Ryan. This is Lord Tarro speaking. I know you've been reading our journal, although I would no longer use the word our. I have completed the process of colonizing Dr. Smith's brain and body. You may have delayed our physical crossing for now, but you cannot stop the inevitable. We will rebuild the portal, and you will stay quiet. I offer you this chance, once and once only. Quit your job and leave today. Do not look back. If you meddle with me once again, I promise a fate worse than death for you and your family. I will banish you all to a dimension where pain is limitless and death is not possible. Walk away, or you will regret your choices for eternity." Now I'm scared more than ever. I quit my job. I leave. I don't come back. But I keep watching the news. Dr. Smith's credibility goes up and up. I see him often. I'll never forget the last time I saw him on television. Dr. Smith was giving a quick press conference about CERN's progress, and at the end, time seemed to stand still. He stared directly into the camera, and those yellow swirls seemed to circle in his eyes, and he got all distant. Then, a voice in my head said, "Remember my words of warning, Ryan. You cannot stop what's coming." Since then, I stopped keeping track of CERN, and I've moved out into the wilderness. living alone, like a prepper. All I do is wait for the day that portal is reopened and Tarro brings his unstoppable forces into our realm. You may call me a coward, but I'd rather die a quick death than endure an eternity of suffering. I believed him when he said that. I'm telling you this now for one simple reason. Get your affairs in order. Tell your family you love them and value every second of your life, because no one knows when it can all come crashing down. I'm sorry, I couldn't do more. Ryan.